Hello, patrons. Welcome back to another production tutorial. Today I'm going to dive into an older Noisia track, one of my favorites, Running Blind. This track means a lot to me. It's a very angry track, but I think even when I listen to it now, it sounds really convincing to me. I have the project open here. I'm going to go through a little bit of background for the track first, and then we're going to dive into a few elements and the ideas behind the processing and the placement and the arrangement. So let's have a quick listen to the track first. I'm just going to play the Cubase project, and you can kind of see what's going on as well. Well, that's not how it's supposed to sound. Already we're running into a problem. These are supposed to be low passing in, these toms right here, but this is obviously an old project. This first attempt at making this track is from 2012. So I opened it again, but there's a few plugins missing, but I thought I had them kind of covered and that they were not unimportant sounds. And just before, this was actually working, but for some reason now this isn't. And what is doing that? It's going to sidechain. Sidechain is messed up. Yeah, this is supposed to be playing these toms here. Right, well, I'm not going to get bogged down into that just now because, you know, that kind of ruins my story. That means I'm just going to play it from the MP3 first. Oops. Yeah, I'm just going to play it till there. I mean, it's quite a long song, 5 minutes 40. But yeah, this kind of makes the point of the track quite simple and straightforward. Now, for some background on this track, this one was originally called Meer Bad Company in Je Leven, which means more bad company in your life. And this was around 2012, where a lot of records that we were making and other people were making didn't really have a lot of elements that I really loved about Bad Company's output from around 2000. And so I had come across a certain break, which we'll get to later, a certain drum loop, and that inspired me to make a really pacey driving track with a higher Reese bass. At the time, people were kind of producing the bass would be around G or F, starting to descend to like F, and now we're already, the standard is much lower sub already. But back then, quite a few of these Bad Company tracks, the bass was a little bit higher, and this also gives the tracks a more driving tension and not so much a foundation. It's more uneasy and more pushing forward and floating, like hovering. And so I wanted to make a track like the tracks that I used to listen to so much as growing up as a teenager. And I'm going to go through them just here. This one, Bad Company 4 Days, is a massive inspiration for this track. There's even a section in the track later where it really does about a 4 days kind of thing. So just to give you an idea of this track. Yeah, I mean, it's so sick still. Obviously, the mix down is different from what we would do now and all this stuff. But this driving feeling of that track used to get me so excited, and still does. And those really mean stabs that sound like they're in between pitches and they're almost atonal. That just is a massive inspiration for this track. And that's also, Bad Company is also where the title of this track comes from, because they did a track called Running. They did a track called Running Man and a track called Blind. And so this is putting those two together and making it Running Blind. But Running Blind also came from this video of the Prodigy that was around. You see, this is from 2012. This Pendulum remix of Voodoo People, massive remix. This video has people running blind. See? And now that I actually, if you put Running Blind under this, I think that probably... Well, you get the idea. That was the vibe, not seeing anything but running. And another inspiration for this track is this other Bad Company track called Forgotten, which has a spoken word section in the intro.
When I lived in London many years ago, I called myself directly. I use another name these days, to be forgotten. Are you surprised to hear my voice?
And this atmosphere that they used to create, this really empty, sort of dystopian atmosphere, and this vocal that you can't really understand. It's not easy to really hear the words. I wanted to have something in here in this as well. So when I came across that vocal, I put that in here, and that's, I think, here.
We can only wait.
So that it sounds to me actually like it's some sort of outtake from Blade Runner, where Harrison Ford is talking about a moment in the film that doesn't exist, where he's hanging in space and he doesn't know how to get out of there or something. But it's not from there. It's from an older sci-fi film. But that kind of has the same, even has sort of similar processing on it and stuff to set up the vibe the same way. And obviously, the Reese basses are very Bad Company inspired. That used to be a really big part of their sound. And that's what set this track off. So when I started working on it, like I said, it was called Meer Bad Company in Je Leven. Now I'll play that one. This one, the original MP3. And this hasn't got everything in it, but you get the idea that this demo was saying enough to know that you would want to work on it and finish it more. So So you can tell it's got pretty much the main elements in there. The bass riff is not the way it ends up being. I think in the version after that, it has the high res. But it's already got the A-B switch, the low note, and then going back up again to the driving bit. The break, the drums sound very similar to how they sound in the final, because that's what got me started working on this break, making that break sound good. So at this stage, that already kind of has happened. There's also some elements in there that have later gone away. Like there's a couple of stabs, like the ones in here. I really like that one. I don't think that made it to the final. And there's some other sounds that I didn't use. Also, this intro, very typical Bad Company to me, because it's one of those sounds that it's a sound that pitches up a semitone. Semitone, our use of semitones is completely, inspired by people like Bad Company and the sort of early neurofunk and tech step. But this specifically is very Bad Company to me because it's a sound that isn't very tonal. And if you use a sound like that, even like a cymbal tail or something, but you deliberately like play it and then play it a semitone lower, you start listening to the interval and it becomes a musical sound, even though it's a very dissonant sound in itself. And I know that's very, very subtle and probably overanalyzing, but that's what I used to love about their use of atmosphere and sounds. Just that very simple semitone thing, like makes you listen to it differently, and it immediately evokes a lot of like imagery for me. So yeah, then the version after that. See, that's where the riff the high res is already there. Now, writing this out, like arranging it properly and writing it out, obviously at first it didn't have a build-up. And I actually love tracks that just go from very small to really big all of a sudden. I personally really love it, but it's obviously much harder to DJ, and it doesn't really work. If you're hearing it for the first time, you might get very surprised. So for a while it was sitting like this, no real build up, no real intro, just that really thin pad. And then once the sort of idea of running blind became a thing, this tom intro with the really driving toms became a logical thing to add to the intro. So that's what kind of sets it up. And then another thing that I really wanted to do, which wasn't being done that much back then and used to be a big thing, is the Reese breakdown. The not having, we did the same thing in Shell Shock, but like just having dropping out to just that Reese filtering in and dropping from there. So this doesn't build up and goes high intensity and then drops. No, it goes out and then, like I love so much, kind of comes out of nothing when it drops. So I'm happy that works, and also still works on a dance floor, because sometimes this is hard to pull off because it can be disorienting and people don't know when it drops or whatever. But yeah, this seemed to work. And then it just rides out for a 16. The main thing, and here just adds a couple of stabs, and then here it goes a little more conflicty. And I think oh, Jesus. Okay. So that also doesn't work. See that those stabs that come in there, they kind of open it up rhythmically. And why, I mean, it's, here these stabs that come in here are just a decoration and kind of add to the vibe of the drop and kind of give it a little more longevity. But what happens here is, I think, kind of interesting because it opens up the groove. You've been listening to a lot of very dense drum hits, and the break, it has 5 kicks every bar. No, wait, 6 kicks every bar, which is a lot and not something I would normally do. So after a while, you need to kind of come out of that. But I didn't want to go into a breakdown or anything. I wanted to sort of open it up. So I tried to make this where it gets rid of a few kicks and gets this other rhythmic accent to kind of keep the interest going and keep a little bit of the energy, but somehow step down from the sort of rabid percussive vibe. And I think that worked quite well because of the way it kind of opens up. And then here on the second drop,
Blind.
Now here, that's to me is just a full-on 4 days homage, because that's what 4 days is. A couple of stabs and this sort of driving Reese. When I listen to this, I think that's sick. It's sick, but still, 4 days is better. But yeah, and then it just drops normally.